Shut up and sit down.
Hey, I'm Simon.
I'm Ellie.
And we're having a couple of drinks tonight that are called
Vista Del Mar Sunset.
Vista Del Mar Sunset. Well, they look very fancy. And why are they called that?
Because they are very sweet and lovely, pretty, but will get messy.
Oh, they will get messy. And we hope you're not getting too messy tonight. Well, if you are, good for you.
Crack on.
But if you like our silly videos, then please remember to like, comment, subscribe, and hit that bell thing over there. That would be very kind of you. And we're having a couple of these, whatever they were called tonight. And
Vista Del Mar Sunset.
yeah, those. And our viewers this time have been surprising us with movie recommendations for movies that we've not yet seen.
So what do we have next?
Well, this came in from a recommendation from one of our viewers, Chris Boskery, who's been commenting on many of our videos and was really sharing some insightful facts about some of the movies that we've covered recently. So thank you, Chris. And this movie is a 2012 dark comedy, crime, drama kind of a movie that spans all the way from the 1940s right through to the 1990s.
Wow.
So this movie was originally a 319-minute movie, and even with my own terrible math, that's over 5 hours long.
That's a long movie.
And the original movie was cut to that length, but no cinemas or theatres would ever play it because they want to sell tickets. And why would you sell one ticket to cover people for nearly 5.5 hours when you could fit 2 or 3 other movies in that time? So they ended up having to cut this into a part 1 and a part 2 kind of a deal. This was also quite well received internationally. It was one of the only Hindi language movies that was actually featured at both the Cannes Film Festival in France and the Sundance Film Festival here in the United States. And it really pushed the boundaries both for the amount of violence that you saw in Indian movies, but also the amount of explicit language. It was seen as pretty progressive back in 2012. So I'm really intrigued. I'm wondering if this one pushes those boundaries a little bit too far for us, or whether we're going to be on board. So I say let's check out the trailer for part 1, and we'll be back again afterwards to let you know what we think about it.
Let's go.
Let's go!
फटरा उठरा सब उखाड़ दिए चाचा गाड़ी चलाओगे तो भीतर चले जाओगे
हमारी जिंदगी का एक के मकसद बदला
सरदार खान नाम है हमारा बता दीजिएगा सबको
Oh my god.
तार डाल के गांड से निकाल के इसी प्लाट पे पतंग उड़ाने का
That's not comfortable.
पहचाने हमें दामादी विधायक है
हमारे बेटे दानिश को कुछ हो जाता ना इतना गोली मारते कि आपका ड्राइवर भी खाली खोखा बेच बेच के रईस बन जाता
कभी ना कभी तो घर आएगा तू हरामखोर
युवा से पूरा है यहाँ कबूतर भी एक पंख से उड़ता है और दूसरे से अपना इज्जत बचाता है समझ गए
मजा आ रहा है मजा आ रहा है सुन के बताओ मंत्री जी नाश्ता में क्या खाए हैं
जोरू का माँ
हाँ?
उस हरामी को हमें मिटाना है.
So, the trailer for Gangs of Wasseypur Part 1, that was not what I was expecting at all.
That was nothing like I was expecting. It was so much more violent than I was thinking it would be.
Yeah, and like I said, it really pushed the boundaries in Indian cinema of both violence and explicit language, and all of that came through in the trailer.
Yeah, you wouldn't watch that trailer and then be surprised by what came through.
Yeah, you wouldn't expect it to be PG-13, would you?
Because remember, no matter how big your balls, they're still subservient to the dick.
Wise words. Yes. So, the thing that came through loud and clear to me more than anything else was this really looks like India. Like, we've seen trailers for movies like War, and I mean 2.0 clearly is a massive CGI, but they look like these ultra-modern cities, which I'm sure you have ultra-modern cities in India, but not everybody in India lives in a city. Like, we don't live in a city in the United States. And this to me looks real, and also it looks real across those time periods as well, that it goes from the 1940s where you've got steam trains and sacks of grain or whatever they were, through to like the 60s and 70s, and you saw some of those vehicles in the movie, and then up to kind of modern day as well. I liked it that it kind of spanned that time period, and you could tell each point in the trailer, you know, at what point in time you were.
Yeah, I liked how they built that. Kind of just, it didn't need to come out and tell you what time it was. Like, it was just presented with the set pieces and kind of how people were dressed and, like you say, just like the cars and the vehicles.
Yeah. Yeah, I also liked it that it looked kind of gritty and dramatic as well. Like, some movies are very idyllic in how they portray people. This looked kind of real. Really reminded me, actually, I guess, one of so many people's favourite movies ever, The Godfather Part 1. There was a point where they're machine gunning the car, and it just had that sort of gritty, realistic, but kind of gang warfare feel to it. And maybe that's intentional. I guess if you were going to make a gang movie in 2012, how could you not take some inspiration, at least, from The Godfather and movies like Gangs of New York and that kind of style of movie? The other thing I really liked about this as well, which I've seen it used by really talented directors like Tarantino, is when you have really disturbing things going on, but you put really upbeat music over the top, and
I hadn't spotted that.
And it kind of gets you bopping along to the music, and then suddenly you realize that you're almost complicit in these horrible things that are happening on screen. The thing I'm thinking of is in Reservoir Dogs, where Michael Madsen's character is cutting off somebody's ear, and the whole lead up to that, you've been bopping along to this fun song in the background, and all of a sudden you're witnessing this horrifying thing, and you're like, oh God, how did I get here?
Yeah, that's a good catch, actually. I hadn't spotted that.
I try my best. Yeah, and I definitely am thoroughly confused by what the storyline is here, and maybe that's meant to be if this movie spans nearly 5.5 hours and 50 years worth of timeline.
Yeah, it's going to be tough to make that too succinct.
Yeah, in a 2-minute trailer, I think you would find that difficult to roll that storyline in there, but I'm actually really intrigued. Chris, who recommended this to us, said that the trailer was awesome, the movie was trash. So I'm really intrigued. If anyone out there loves this movie, I would love to hear what you think. If anyone out there hates this movie, I would also love to hear why you hate it. Yeah, I'm intrigued, but it actually looks like the kind of movie I would watch. Maybe not as quickly as I would rush to watch like an action-packed movie like War or 2.0 or Saho. But this kind of movie has its place in my library as well. Like I'm a big fan of The Godfather, so yeah, I can see why people would love it. I'm intrigued to see what the finished product is like. And we will be back at some point to check out the trailer for Part 2. I'm curious. I think I would need to do some research on what happens in Part 1 before we get to the trailer for Part 2, or it's going to make zero sense to us. But there you go. I think there are our impressions. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if I'm 100% on board with seeing Gangs of Wasseypur yet. I'm intrigued enough that I'm going to check out a little bit more, and I would love to hear what you guys think about it.
Yep, we'd love to hear it, because this sounds like it looked pretty confusing from the trailer. And I'm not sure I'm ready to commit 5 hours to it.
Yeah, that's true. That's a lot of time. But lots of violence, lots of swears. What's not to like? So there you go, friends. Well, thank you, Chris, for the recommendation. We're really puzzled / intrigued / enthused by Gangs of Wasseypur. And we will be back to do this again tomorrow. So we will see you then on the next Drunk Trailer Ambush.
Peace out, nerds.
And remember, no matter how big your balls, they are always subservient to the dick.
Shut up and sit down.